When you're the head of a regime built on control, corruption, and the occasional family execution, it's fair to say trust isn't your strong suit, especially when most of the people around you are either future victims or temporary pawns. Someone like Kim Jong Un, for example, isn't exactly a poster child for trusting your leaders. But there's one person, the Supreme Leader's ghost, one who closely follows his every move while executing disturbing ones of her own, his dangerous, sinisterly smirking sister, Kim Yo Jong. Kim Yo Jong, Kim Jong-un's younger sister, both first appeared in the public spotlight in 2009, while their father Kim Jong-il's health was failing. Kim Yo Jong's name was not given, her role was unknown. In 2011, she was filmed crying at her father's funeral. It was also one of the first hints to the outside world that Kim Yo Jong held an unconventional level of power. In her distress, Kim left halfway through the eulogy. Her punishment? Nothing. Nobody batted an eye. But what do we know about the elusive younger years of Kim Jong-un's youngest sister and one of his closest confidants? Much like her brother, Kim Yo Jong's early years are only known in brief. According to their father, Kim Jong-il's one-time private chef, pseudonym Kenji Fujimoto, Kim Yo Jong was referred to as Princess by her family from a young age. She was close with both Kim Jong-un and her brother Kim Jong-chol, but it's the Supreme Leader she grew up more closely with, each attending school in Switzerland around the same time, under false names. Kim Yo Jong's ascent to power. After 2012, the world started to see a lot more of Kim Yo Jong. Her official titles grew from cadre, or head of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, that's North Korea's ruling party, to playing a senior role in the propaganda and agitation department. With this role, she approved the contents of state media newspapers. The South Korean president is a frightened dog. He's a shameless, deranged, and foolish man who puts his neck into the noose of pro-US flunkyism. She quickly became infamous for her sardonic smile and vile diatribes towards other world leaders. In particular, successive South Korean presidents are often at the other end of her verbal tongue lashings. If the South violates even an inch of our territory, our nuclear combat force will carry out its duty. President Barack Obama was the target of racist stereotypes and foul language, and North Korean propaganda outlets and state media articles turned even nastier in tone, full of profanity, sexism, racism, and homophobia. In 2016, Otto Warmbier, an American student, was arrested for tearing down a picture of Kim Jong-un shortly after falling into a coma due to a neurological issue. It took 17 months for him to return home, but tragically he never regained consciousness, dying June 19, 2017. The North Korean government is found liable for his torture and death, but there are those who believe they know exactly who was responsible, including Otto's father. I looked at her. She's evil all the way through. She is a murderer, a criminal, a thug. She just happens to be a woman. Throughout history, power has often been exercised in the shadows, from secret police and authoritarian regimes to behind-the-scenes political operatives. It's not always the most visible figures who pose the greatest threats. Today, that hidden power can take a digital form. You may not realize it, but your personal information, like your name, email, and even your phone number, might already be circulating among data brokers. These companies collect and sell your data, often without your knowledge or even consent. It's a modern form of surveillance capitalism, and it's become a multi-billion-dollar industry. That's why today's sponsor is Aura. Aura is a digital security solution that brings together several tools to help protect your identity and privacy. Here's what it offers: real-time alerts if your information is found on the dark web, notifications about potential fraud on your credit and bank accounts, 24/7 identity and financial monitoring, a built-in VPN, and if the worst happens, Aura's team of US-based fraud experts is on call around the clock with identity theft insurance coverage up to $5 million. In history, failing to protect key information has often led to disaster. Today, digital threats are no different. Try Aura free for 2 weeks by clicking the link in the description or visiting aura.com/simplehistory to see where your data might already be exposed. Taking center stage. By 2018, Kim Yo Jong is a frequent feature at meetings with world leaders, and it becomes increasingly clear that she is the most probable successor to Kim Jong Un. Other candidates include Kim Jong Un's daughter, Ju-ae, and Chairman Cho Ryong-hae. What other member of North Korea would stand so boldly beside her brother, openly eschewing political diplomacy? From constantly assaulting President Moon of South Korea in state media, to standing as Kim Jong-un's right-hand man when he met the president in person, privy to all private meetings, and adopting an air only one who doesn't fear retribution from the supreme leader could possibly hold. By the time Donald Trump became president of the United States for the first time, Kim Yo Jong had become one of the main faces of North Korea. She attended the famous Singapore summit, where, despite some initial setbacks, her brother and President Trump met for the first time. And quietly, confidently, Kim Yo Jong was ever present, attending the high-stakes meetings, smirking as she wandered around the St. Regis suite, ignoring formality and doing exactly as she pleased, something almost no North Korean can do. But despite her meteoric rise, Kim Yo Jong isn't untouchable. The second U.S.-North Korea summit in Hanoi in early 2019 was a disaster. Talks fell apart, no deals were signed, and Kim Jong Un was furious. Reports surfaced of a purge of government officials. Multiple aides were executed as blame fell on their shoulders. But it was Kim Yo Jong's sudden, months-long absence that was the most significant. For someone who had spent the last 5 years ensuring she was always positioned alongside her brother, Kim's absence was loud. When she didn't attend a pivotal Russian Far East visit, it seemed clear that even she had not completely escaped the Supreme Leader's wrath about what happened in Hanoi. Not that that stopped her for long. By October, Kim Yo Jong was back in the limelight, and in the most dramatic way possible. Pictured on horseback beside her brother on the snow-topped slopes of Mount Paktu, a moment heavy in symbolism for North Koreans, for Mount Paktu had long since been revered as the birthplace of the Kim dynasty. Of the 25 official photos, Kim Yo Jong appears in 6, but the most telling picture shows the siblings side by side. In it, both of their horses are wearing a silver 5-pointed star, the emblem of the ruling family, and one not even Kim Jong-un's own wife was permitted to wear. The message to the people of North Korea seemed clear. She is close, she is trusted, she is next. Since then, Kim Yo Jong's actions, vitriol, and confidence in her position have grown and grown, until she has become the crescendo of North Korea, and some memes. Well, anyway, when North Korean defectors launched anti-regime propaganda across the border in 2020, messages tucked into balloons and floating over the DMZ, Kim Yo Jong didn't just condemn the act, she showed the full strength of her power and influence. Blaming South Korea for the defectors' actions, she blew up the South and North Korean liaison office in Kaesong, sending a very literal message about the two countries' relationship. South Korea are dogs bred by the U.S. They are lunatics who dare use military provocation against a nuclear weapons state. They should be scared. No one knows how our retaliation and revenge will be completed. As tensions continue to rise between North and South Korea, Kim Yo Jong has repeatedly made it clear that she is not afraid to retaliate. In 2022, she laid out exactly how North Korea could and would use its nuclear weapons on the South, a warning to them and the rest of the world that North Korea is armed and potentially dangerous. Since then, Kim Yo Jong continues to use a mixture of insults and intimidation to support her brother's regime and disparage the rest of the world. If anything, her comments have only ramped up recently, with the US becoming an even more frequent target of abuse, calling their drills a provocation and warning they would retaliate. On New Year's Eve 2024, 2 children accompanied Kim Yo Jong, fueling further succession rumors. In 2025, President Yoon, Moon's successor, was impeached. There's almost a sinister joy she seems to take in the abuse, smiling as she spouts off threats, sarcastic in the face of Donald Trump's administration's comments, and always, always the looming presence next to her brother, the supreme leader. Kim Jong Un may be the head of North Korea, but Kim Yo Jong is its face and voice, and heaven help the rest of us if she finally, officially, takes over.